This is going to be a busy week. We've got a lot to do, so buckle up. Let's go. Hello and welcome back to the shop. My name is Brett and I'm glad you're here following along. Last week on our episode, we were working on the medium dapple gray that's going to be heading to Houston, Texas. That's on bow rockers. We're going to be painting those bow rockers here in the next week or so. And I thought maybe this week we'd get on that and work on painting. You know, get the base coat on it, get a primer, get the base coat on it, that whole thing, and then finish up the rockers. But today, I've got a really nice day outside. In fact, today and tomorrow, it's going to be in the 60s. So here in Western Pennsylvania for mid-November, when it's 60 degrees, I hate to pass up that opportunity. So I think what I'm going to do is switch gears here and carry my medium on the safety stand that's going to Pittsburgh. I'm going to take it outside, and I really want to start getting this roughed in. You know, today and tomorrow, if I can have 2 solid days of nice weather and carving outside, keep the mess outside, I think that's kind of a no-brainer, and that's a win-win. Once, you know, we get this roughed in, then we can go ahead and shut the door, you know, next week, and then we're inside where it's warm, and then we can jump back on and work on the bow rockers for the horse we're making for Houston. This horse, I worked on it Monday, and I have it all sanded, and it is prepped. It is ready for the paint booth. It's ready to start putting primer on it, but again, when you got a day like this, I've got to take it. So I'm going to go ahead, get set up outside, and get suited up, and I want to get this horse roughed in. So here we go. Now, a couple of things I wanted to point out too about this particular horse. Last week I had said I have this one all glued up and ready to go. I didn't glue the top part down to the body because the customer wants to put some stuff inside of it. I always talk about the time capsule and things inside, and I always like to put family, you know, information, memorabilia, things like that inside the horse. So I always offer that to each of my customers, and this one would like to do that. They just haven't sent me the stuff yet, and I've been talking to them back and forth, and they're going to get it together and get it sent to me. But in the meantime, again, since it's such a nice day, I want to move forward on this, and I want to go ahead and get this roughed in. Normally I just go ahead and clamp it, you know, glue it and clamp it down tight, and you know, we'll just go forward, and then when they send me the stuff, I normally will just cut a slot and tuck it in and fill it. Well, this time around, I'm going to try something a little bit different. I'm just put about 4 drops of glue on the sides and in the front and the back, and I just lightly clamped it, and then I think that might be strong enough. We're going to find out. This thing may end up on the ground. I hope not, but we're going to find out if this will hold, and hopefully I can go ahead and get this all roughed in and carved. And then when I do get that information, I should be able to just take a chisel, you know, and pop this top back off and put their stuff inside, and then go ahead and clamp it and glue it. So I want to try it and see if this works. I've had a couple of times now that I've had some people want to send things, and it's been late, and you know, like I said, it's a real pain to get it all glued down and then go back in when it's somewhat finished and cut it. So hopefully this will work. We're going to find out. Well, there we go. We've been at this now for, I'd say about 2.5, almost 3 hours. And we have this horse roughed in. And again, I only put a couple of dabs of glue in a couple of spots to hold this top part down on the bottom half of the horse. To be honest with you, I didn't think it was going to hold. I really thought, you know, rolling it and flipping it around and kind of handling it hard, I thought for sure I was going to lift the top right off, but it seems to be holding really well. So I'm really happy about that. So, you know, and then I had to keep thinking while I was out there to sort of, you know, move this thing gingerly. I didn't want to jerk it too much, and I wanted to make sure that I had a good hold of it just in case that top did lift off, that I could, you know, keep it from falling and hitting the ground and possibly breaking the ears off. But hey, it's an absolutely gorgeous day here today. It's in the upper 60s, which again, for Western Pennsylvania for this time of the year is amazing. I brought my elephant out because he's been kind of trapped in my paint booth and in the dark there for quite a while. So I decided he needed a little bit of sunlight before old man winter shows his face here in Pennsylvania. So I'm just going to get right back into it. We pretty much got this guy roughed in yesterday. Today, we're just going to start working with the medium grinder, and we'll just start fine tuning this again. You kind of know the routine by now. We're just going to go over it, fine tune it, then we'll just start right into sanding. Yes, I have the same shirt I wore yesterday. I just kind of took it off here in the shop and just set it aside because I just figured, well, it's already dusty and, you know, might as well just throw it back on again today. So I promise you it is a new day here, and this is the second day, and I'm just wearing this again because, well, it's already dirty. So anyways, let's go ahead. I'll get suited up and we'll get into it. Well, the weatherman sure got his forecast right today. It is raining outside. It's been raining pretty much all night. It's supposed to rain all day, and then after that, temperatures are going to start to fall. So we're heading into Thanksgiving, and I guess we're supposed to maybe have a high of 30 degrees. So I'm really glad I was able to get outside. We had a couple of nice days there to work on our other horse here so we can get that all roughed in. As you can see, yesterday I was able to go ahead and finish pretty much all of my carving on it, and I was able to even start sanding on this guy. So he's coming along really great. So really, I'm in really good shape now. I don't really have to do any more carving outside. So it can snow, it can do whatever it wants to do. We can work on it inside here in the shop and finish up what we need to do. So that's fantastic. Right now though, since it's raining, I'm taking a break on this guy, and I'm in the paint booth right now. I'll show you. So I'm in the paint booth right now. This is our medium on the bow rockers that'll be heading to Houston. I was able to go ahead and get our first coat of primer put on. Now I'm just in here sanding it down again, looking for any little, holes, anything that I don't really like, and filling that, then I'll sand everything again. And then we'll end up giving it a second coat of primer. And then after the second coat of primer, we'll take a look and see how it looks after that and determine if we want to give it a third coat. Chances are we'll probably be okay with 2 coats, but we'll see how it comes out. And then we can go ahead and get our base coat sprayed on tomorrow. And then Monday we get in here to the shop. We should be able to start airbrushing and making this horse a dapple gray. So you can look forward to seeing that here coming up. So the goal for today is to spray our second coat of primer on our bow rocker in the paint booth. We'll get that done, and then we're going to come back out here and we'll take a break, like I said, on this guy, our medium, on the glider or the safety stand. We're going to focus our attention on our bow rockers here. We'll go and get the clamps taken off of that, get it broken down, and we'll start sanding, and we'll see if we can get our bow rockers finished up here today. So let's get after it. Good, we'll let that sit here for a few hours. We'll come in and give it another sand. I think I'll hit it again on the bottom side of this. Then we can roll it over and finish the top, and that should be good enough. Well, let's go work on our rockers. We'll go ahead and get this set aside. Now we'll go ahead and get our bench cleaned off. As you can see, I haven't even done anything, haven't even worked over here in the last couple of days since we really burned up both of these Porter cable grinders, which got me thinking I may here later on, since I took the gear out of one, so I've got a grinder here with the gearbox stripped out of it, and then I've got another grinder where the motor is pretty well cooked on it. And could I go ahead and just take the gearbox off of one and switch it on the other? So I've kind of got, my curiosity's piqued. So I may try that later on over the weekend or something, and possibly see if I can, take both of these and at least salvage one out of there. So I'll let you know if it works. Go ahead and put this grinder back. Okay, we'll go ahead and get these broken down here. Got it. Okay. It's amazing that you keep the glue, and like I said, I always try to keep the glue away from my ends so that I don't hit the stretchers and they don't stick. But as you can see, it's amazing how much that glue will still ooze. Oh no, I got it out of there. There we go. The glue was just sticking. That's all it was. And like I said, it's amazing how much glue, even though I kept it quite a ways away from my ends, it still oozed and worked its way over. Good. Now we'll take these over to the bandsaw, and I'll go ahead and we'll trim our cleats, what I call the cleat, the center section here. So we'll go ahead and we'll get those trimmed up, then we'll grab the belt sander and get them clamped up and go ahead and get these all sanded. Oh, we'll head back over, we'll grab the belt sander, and we'll start sanding. Well, all I've got to say is I'm sure glad I don't live far from Home Depot. I could have swore I just bought a 5-pack of belts for my belt sander, and I've looked everywhere and can't find them. And I can't imagine why I can't find my belts, but usually I put them in my big cabinet over here, you know, with all of my hand tools and things, and I hang it up, and I don't have any. I've looked everywhere, but oh well. So at least I live only, 10 minutes from Home Depot, so I can run in. I grabbed another 5-pack, so, we'll get the belt put on and we'll get back at it. Funny thing is, I'll probably find the belts here right after I, do this. That's usually how it works. In case you're wondering, I'm using 80 grit paper on here. I don't really use anything coarser or anything, lighter. 80 grit seems to work pretty good. And as always, then I go over it with my palm sander. So good. Okay, let me get my mask back on. Dust collection. And here we go. There we go. These are looking pretty good. Again, I like to just belt sand them. It doesn't take long. That's 80 grit paper on the belt sander, and I can pretty much even those out. And then you probably saw me stepping back, taking a look, and I can see some high spots, and I can just flatten those out. It only takes, an hour really to get these, somewhat straightened out and start making them look even. This one over here, I started with this one first. I've got a smaller blade on the bandsaw. I didn't change it out when I went and cut these out the first time. And I don't know what I was thinking or what, but boy, I'll tell you, this first one, I had some cuts in there. It was, I don't know, whether I was drinking, I don't know. But I'll tell you, they were off a little bit. So I wanted to start with that one first and see if I can get it kind of, straightened up and looking good. But yeah, it wasn't any big deal at all. I was able to get those straightened up and get them corrected and looking good. So, okay, I'm gonna grab my sanding mat and get it laid out, and then we'll just start again with 80 grit paper on the palm sander, and we'll just continue sanding. Okay, that's all done. I spared you again from sitting there watching me just sand, and I've got these all sanded and prepped. They're both ready to go. Next thing, I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna remake my stretchers here. I'm not gonna use these ones, just for the simple fact that I had a little bit of trouble getting them back out, and I kind of countersunk the holes a little bit too deep. I mean, they would be fine. I could go ahead and glue them in and screw them and they'd be fine, but it's poplar and I've got plenty of it. I think I'd be better off just to remake these real quick and kind of re-drill them and put them back down. So that's what I'm gonna do. And then we can go ahead and start assembling our rocker. And once we get that done, then I'm gonna start making slats. We'll go ahead and get the slats put down. Then we can bring our horse out, because I've yet to notch the hooves for this particular rocker. So I want to go ahead and get this put together, get the slats down. We'll carry our horse out of the paint booth and we'll go ahead and get the hooves notched, and that should finish it off for the day. Good. Here we go. All right, a couple of quick trips around the shop. We've got a couple of new stretchers made. We'll go ahead, I'm gonna countersink some holes again, and then we can get this put together. This poplar, of course, is pretty soft, and I think the last time I countersunk them, I just, went a little bit too, used a little bit too much pressure and really kind of made them deep. I'm kind of used to doing this in cherry and a harder wood. In this poplar, I just wasn't really paying attention. Like I said, it happened, so no big deal. We'll use the old ones for something else. Good. Okay. Now I'm not sure if I mentioned it before, but I did go ahead and I put our back bevel on the new stretchers here. So all we need to do is get ourselves oriented here. There we go, like that. Yeah, well, let me go ahead and give these a quick sand, and we can go ahead then and get these glued and screwed on. I almost forgot, and I don't know why I always forget about putting my logo on, so I ran over to my laser real quick and burned in the logo, and now we are ready to go. A little bit of glue and some screws is all it's going to take. I threw a clamp on this. Normally, I would put a couple of pieces of scrap wood down here so I don't mar the wood. But again, poplar, we're going to be painting this, so I put a little bit of, a couple of clamp marks in there, easy enough to sand out, and they're not even that bad. There really wasn't that much pressure on there. Good. I'll get a damp cloth, we'll wipe off our excess, and then we'll move on and we'll throw the slats down. Now, while I'm thinking of it, I think I'm going to go ahead and plug my holes before I start putting the slats down. A little easier to see what you're doing without the slats. Good, that's done. Now let's go ahead and we'll cut some material, build our slats, get those all milled and beveled, and we can start putting those down. Well, good morning. As you can see, I'm already at it here. I'm cutting out my slats for my rocker here that we built yesterday. I was trying to get to this yesterday, but right after I kind of finished up here and I was getting ready to mill these pieces, my brother came in and asked me for a favor, so I ran with him and that pretty much finished out my day. So here we are today, and I've gone ahead, I've got 9 of the slats cut out. They're cut at 2 5/8 inches wide. I'm going to run over to the joiner, run them over the joiner, clean up the edges, and then we can come back over here and we'll start, like before, is just start laying them down and we'll space them out and then back and forth to the router. You kind of know the routine by now. And again, if you're new to the channel and you haven't seen me do this before, I recommend go over to this video and I kind of explain a little bit more in detail on how to build these bow rockers. So I'm just going to kind of get into it because I really want to get this done and I really want to get our horse out here so I can get those hooves notched. So here we go. Good, those are done. I think I'm going to run right over to the router table right now and go ahead and put my beveled edge on 3 of these because I always start with 3 with a flush cut at the end. So let's head over to the router table. Okay, let's just go ahead. I'm going to run a test piece and just see if my height is good. Looks good. Let's go ahead and run it. All right. These are going to go down like that. Here are the spacers. So it's going to go something like that. Now we'll just go ahead, we'll give these slats a good sand, 120 grit, and I like to countersink the screw holes on my medium bow rockers, then I'll cap them and then sand them flush. So I like to do that over on the drill press though. It's a little bit difficult to do it by hand. I can go ahead and set my adjustment, my depth for the countersink and just kind of roll right through, and we'll go ahead and get these ones screwed out and get them started. And then we'll just start working our way out and tapering as we go. Nine and 3/8, 9 1/2. Good. That looks good right there. I'll just mark it. Then I'm going to mark where my countersinks are going to go. And we'll head to the drill press. Let's see how we did here. One of these days, I want to make some sort of a jig or template so that I know exactly where these screw holes go when I countersink those. I just haven't had, again, time to do it. And maybe after the holidays, you know, maybe I'll mess around with that and try to come up with some sort of a template, because it'd be so much quicker and faster if I can just kind of grab these, go over to the drill press and just punch them out and come back over here instead of, you know, marking each one. But again, this is going to get painted and I'm going to fill these holes with plugs, and then I'll sand them flush and it'll be fine. But you know, when you get into doing a natural rocker, the cherry rockers, which I do quite a few of, you know, I like having those, all of those screw holes as perfect as I can and have them all, you know, in line, and it looks nice. So a little bit of glue here. I just do a dab of glue. We're going to set it at a 1/2 inch. Good. This is where you have to be careful too that you don't snap a screw off. It's real easy to do. Ask me how I know. You break a screw off in there, then you gotta take it all back apart and kind of dig that screw out and start over. Good. And back over to the drill press. Okay, our first 3 are down. Now we're going to start tapering them. And as always, I always like to taper those so that it follows the contour, the shape of the rockers as they, go up the rocker. Get our next 2 here. There we go. Those are all finished up. Nice. They look good. I haven't looked down the ends of these again. Like I said, oh, those look great. I'll bring you around later and, I'll put the camera up so you can look down at what I'm talking about. I always put a stick up here too on the ends just to take a look and see, if they're horizontal, if everything lines up, and boy, these look really, really good. Well, all that's left is to go ahead and plug these holes, give it all a good sand, then we can bring our horse out, set it up here, and we can notch the hooves. Now, I think this is one of my favorite parts, is to put the horse for the first time on its rockers and start fitting it. I don't know why. It's just fun to build things and build something like this and then, bring it out and marry it up with the other part of it and step back and take a look at it. It's just kind of fun for me. Back is looking good. I need to squeeze the front part of the rockers in a little bit. Good. And now we can go ahead and we'll get our compass and we'll just kind of mark where we need to notch these hooves. We'll get the hooves notched, get it all fitted. Then I'm going to pull the lathe out and, we'll start doing our turnings and we'll get the turnings fitted. And that's going to be pretty much it for today. Good. Now, I'm sure you've seen me do this, 100 times, notching these hooves. This is what I do. I just use my Makita sander here, and I'll just kind of go in and take down just a little bit. You'll see me pick it up, put it back on, fit it, take it off, put it back on, take it off. It's a little bit of a repetitive step, but yeah, I don't do a whole lot. I just take little bites at it and just take my time. This will probably take me an hour and a half to get this fitted really well, but this is, I think, one of the easier ways to do it. You could also carve it, get your carving tools out, and I've done that in the past, and just carve it. Well, there we go. There's our horse, all fitted to the rockers. And I'll show you how nice those look. This one has just like a 1/16 of a gap, but once I put the turning in and I push that and spread these, spread this apart here in between where the turnings are going to go, it'll close that gap up. This side looks fantastic, as well as the back. Those look really, really good. And that took, I don't know, about an hour, roughly. Well, now that that is all done and out of the way, that's one of the harder things to do. When we get down to this point, this is really the last hard thing we need to do for this horse. Next up, I'm going to pull my lathe out. I already glued up some material. I've had it sitting here in the clamps, and that is going to be for our turning. So get the lathe pulled out, we'll get that turned, and that'll pretty much finish off what we want to get done today. The next time you see this horse, we'll be in the paint booth and we'll start painting. Well, and with that, we have yet another set of bow rockers pretty well finished up. And boy, I'll tell you, these ones look really, really good. I'm just looking down the end and lining up with the far end there and just making sure everything is even and looks horizontal. And boy, I'll tell you, these ones are really, really close. Really happy with the way these turned out. Now, a little bit of a pro tip for you all out there. I never set my turnings first. I always wait until after I get the horse fitted and the hooves notched and everything there, and I've already done that. And the reason I do that is once I get that horse to where I kind of like it, I can kind of squeeze in here on the ends of the bow rockers, and that'll help adjust and kind of, it's a little bit easier to notch those hooves. And then once that's done, I'll go back in and then I cut my turnings, and I'll cut those a little bit long so that it spreads the ends of these bow rockers just a little bit. So if I have a little bit of a gap here with the hooves meeting the bow rockers, then that helps close up that little bit of a gap. And that seems to work out really well for me. So that's just a quick little pro tip out there for you all. But yeah, I'm real happy with these. Well, like I said, next time we meet, we're going to be in the paint booth. So the horse is already ready to go for its base coat of paint. So when we meet next week, we're going to go ahead and get everything set up in the paint booth. This horse is going to be a dapple gray. So we'll go through the steps again on painting a dapple gray, and you can watch me, finish this horse up. And I'd really like to put a push on next week and pretty much, have this horse, done, clear coated, and we can go on to final assembly. So that's going to be next week, so you're not going to want to miss that. Once again, I really appreciate you all hanging out with me here at the shop. And again, if you've enjoyed watching this video, please think about giving it a thumbs up. Also, hit that subscribe button as well. That really helps me out in growing the channel. And you can check me out on Instagram. I have a Pinterest page as well that does really well. I've been playing around with TikTok. I haven't really been doing too much with that, and that's, I don't know, it's kind of up in the air whether I want to continue with that or not, but you can check me out there. And of course, my website is greenfieldwoodworks.com. Also, don't forget to check out my friends over at the Rocking Horse Makers Facebook page and Rocking Horse International Facebook page. Again, great resources there if you have any questions or you just want to kind of browse around and see what other people are doing. Those are two great Facebook pages to, kind of take a look and, see what others are doing. Again, I really appreciate y'all hanging out with me here at the shop. And until next week, happy carving. We'll see you then. Take care.